25.
25.
Quarter of the way there.
To where?
To 3 digits.
I don't know. We had a goal.
At least 3 digits. Maybe 4.
Life is a goal. To make
Three-
it to the end of it.
25 is on about half a year.
Half a year?
Yeah. I guess 26 is exactly half a year, isn't it?
Yeah. Does it seem like we've been doing this for half a year? No.
It's very short.
Yeah. So the topic. I'm trying to think how to introduce the topic. And so we've been kind of talking about it from multiple standpoints of view and like applying it to different people. But in essence, it comes down to, I call it maybe energy of chaos, but I don't necessarily mean it in a negative way. And so,
It's almost change instead of chaos, but it's change in a chaotic way. Or I see it as like chaos as like the agent of chaos being an agent of change.
yeah, no, so the topic, I guess the nuance of the topic is we draw our energy as a human being from a source, right? I'm not talking about, the food we eat, that's just a sustainability or of our physical material form, right? I'm talking about the energy of our essence, right?
Mhm.
Comes from a source. And so yeah, I guess there's a lot of nuances to cover. And my point to here is most people draw energy from the essence of themselves, which is the essence of creation, right?
Yeah.
But others along the way somehow compartmentalize it out into the energy of chaos.
So what do you mean by chaos?
So in that case, chaos meaning instead of energy of tranquility and peace and oneness, right? And those are just the terms that I'm assigning to it. In no way do they actually do justice to highlight what this energy is, right? Like the energy of being, right? When you and I talked about whenever you feel stressed out or like at your wit's end or basically at the end of your rope or hitting the bottom,
Yeah.
and you reach out to the energy of the universe and ask for help, that is the energy of existence. Now, in that case, you're reaching out from a point of stress, but reaching into a point of abundance, right? Or hope or love or support. But in that same sense, if you're not stressed out and you're just living, you are drawing energy force into your body. And for the most part, the most people, ... I say most people, maybe not even most people, but it is one energy of existence, right? And if you have been lost on your way, that energy of existence gets compartmentalized into chaos.
I think that makes sense.
I don't know if I can talk about this without actually doing an example.
How impersonal of an example can you do?
A personal,
Impersonal.
impersonal. Well, maybe I should start with personal. We know some people, right, that strive on energy of. So instead of using the word chaos, but right, so in order to elaborate more on a chaos, I will use another term. Energy of stress and pressure and fighting
Yeah.
conflict and turmoil.
That's a good concrete example. I'm sure most people, if they're not themselves, they know people who, like, everything's always very dramatic. There's always a lot of drama, and not in a good way.
Yeah, and the drama almost has to be started by this person.
If it's not there, they'll spark up some new drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a type of people. Now, I'm not trying to stereotype, but I'm trying to paint a picture of how it looks like when the energy is coming from somewhere else, right? when you become dependent on the energy of someone else. Now, the truth is, the energy is actually one. There is no separation of energy. But this group of people, or these people, or even like us at times, would not go for the energy of the source within uninterrupted energy of the source, and in fact use an interrupted version of it for facilitation of will, facilitation of an experience. And so I had this image flash in my head, and so you will flash it right here, and I will try to explain it. But if you imagine existence, all existence existing in the spherical nature of our being, right, in the sphere. And that is the energy of all existence. That is the energy of all source, right? That is the entire circle and everything inside of it, right? And then when I'm talking about the people who choose to cause chaos or to live out of turmoil, what happens in that case is, so in this case, you would have to flush a separate bubble inside my circle. More work on your end, by the way.
Work.
Yeah.
Who's the agent of chaos now?
And so in that instance, that circle within represents an interpretation of the overall energy, an individualized interpretation of overall energy. Does that make sense?
It'd be easier.
We will be there. Yeah, you see that right there? See that? Yeah, right there.
Is this like a Venn diagram?
No, it's the circle, the other circle, the smallest circle is inside, as visualized here, the big circle. So you take the energy of the oneness, the existence of the essence.
The energy of chaos is a subset of the energy of oneness.
Subset, but how the subset exists, it is interpreted.
It is a Venn diagram.
No, a Venn diagram would have them either overlapping to a certain extent.
And they can be completely enclosed in a Venn diagram, I think.
Oh, it is?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought Venn diagram has to by default exist here, and then there's an extent of an overlap.
I think they can overlap. I think they can be completely enclosed.
Maybe I just misinterpreted Venn diagram. You could be right. I will allow you to be right.
I was about to.
No, whenever I would study Venn diagram in marketing,
no, I mean
it was always two circles and then there's an overlap.
Example, but I think it's still a Venn diagram if they're
maybe
overlap completely.
Yeah, it would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it is a Venn diagram, there'll be a note over here that Tanya is wrong. This is a documentation of Tanya possibly being wrong.
It's on camera.
It's documented.
Hopefully on audio. That thing was acting up.
Yeah, it's documented. So what I'm saying is, I want to clarify, the energy of chaos or the turmoil of conflict isn't in any way separate from the energy of the overall circle, from the overall essence of existence.
Right.
But it gets interpreted as a different source by those who start to depend on it.
Is this analogy could be like they have on chaos colored glasses, and so they just see the world through that. The world through that, they just see.
I mean, that would be a sinister way to say it, but in truth, no. I think here's the way I see it.
They see the same energy that we see, but they interpret it in a different way.
We don't even see the energy. We just walk our world.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
you have
here.
A project, and you're working on the project, and there's a source. There's an energy you're drawing into this project, right? There's enthusiasm, and there's progress, and then there's manifestation, and then there's excitement, right?
Yeah,
and that is energy. That is the manifestation of reality, the manifestation of us, of anything that is done. This microphone, had that energy within it, right? But for some people, they have become so dependent on the idea that their energy is of chaos or of turmoil, of anger, because all through their life, especially in their younger years, their life was all chaos, and it was all turmoil, and it was all, anger. And so they got used to their primary energy being interpreted, not being of chaos and turmoil and anger, but being interpreted through the channel, through the communication
Yeah.
of that. So, for
And
example, if you were growing up in a violent household where you got beaten, right? Or where you had a drunken father and the drunken father would come home
and it's erratic, and you
and
don't
it's
know,
erratic and you don't
is
know
this
what will
good dad or bad
happen,
dad coming home?
right? And then you don't know if you're going to have to start defending yourself and your mother in that process because your father beats you. This is the personal story I'm relaying, not about my father, but for someone who I know, right? And so you are always on the edge. And so at the core, really, in your youngest years of development, you're living off of energy
Yeah, and
of
that
fear and anger and
and
scarcity and
you've
chaos.
basically learned that this is normal, and like a calm situation where dad and mom are both calm and nice and there's no violence would feel weird to you.
Well, if it would feel weird, that's another thing. It just feels unfamiliar. But in this case, let's say this dad accident happens and happens and happens and happens. And the next thing you know, you go out into the world and you work on the project. And guess what? You need energy. You need source, right? But you have unprocessed trauma left over from the dad being an alcoholic, beating on you and
Mhm.
your mother, right? So you have a source to draw that energy from somewhere within your being, on your auric field, on your chakras, right? And then it's very, very easy to take an immediate source, such as chaos, and draw energy out of it because it is always bubbling at the surface of you, right? What is that? What is there ready for us to process and to release first? It's the unsettled energy of anger and fear and chaos and you know
Wait,
whatever I'm just those are the
yeah.
words that are coming up, but you can think of a lot of those
I mean,
words.
when we first met, I tried to start little. I thought of them as debates, but maybe arguments is a better way to word it with you. Just for I don't even know why. I mean, I'm
Shits
sure it
and
was that,
giggles.
just in giggles.
Yeah.
But it's not. I don't actively want to fight with you. That doesn't sound fun. But yet,
Well, because within that fight, like with you, it's a dual concept.
yeah, with me, I didn't have a voice, and I was trying to express a voice out of this, which is a really twisted and roundabout way to do it. Very indirect, very ineffective, even. Yeah.
Yeah, but on the other hand, what I really want to stress is the energy of turmoil and chaos delivers an immediate result. It's like an immediate jolt, right? It's
That's
like,
probably a dopamine hit too.
yeah, it's a dopamine hit, but like as far as if somebody has fine tuned their being to be able to live off of it through practice, through years and years of cycling that cycle, then it becomes extremely easy for you to become extremely dependent on it, but then get almost jolting dopamine type of influxes. Like, what is, in the movies, you see people and they like stab themselves with some sort of
Adrenaline.
adrenaline in order to, well, I don't know why they do it in the movies. It's always some sort of action thing. And then
Yeah, they're
like their armor's broken and they're bleeding out of a thing, but they need more energy. So they're like, Jason Statham style, adrenaline themselves in order to fight another
yeah,
20 battles.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Those
Right.
concepts
It gives you enough of a
of a
energy
jolt,
boost to
of a jolt.
ignore your broken arm and go fight off some more bad guys.
Yes, right. The energy of chaos, I will say it as chaos, but again, anger, um, turmoil, pressure, all of those energies is equivalent to that, to, I don't know why it goes into your thigh, but right, to that, guess what? Numb off everything that is actually happening to me and immediately draw immediate response. And so thus, and that's a cycle. The second you go, hey, instead of me processing what I feel and actually actualizing it through my form, I can do this really quickly. And then guess what? Perform unbelievable feats and tasks and outperform
Yeah.
my own self's ability.
It's a source of energy. It's just not a great source of energy.
Yes, and this is what I wanted to say. It is that exists for a lot of people that we know. And amazing things can be accomplished using that energy. There's examples upon examples of people being dependent on that energy or using that type of an energy source in order to, you name it.
Right. Build companies, invent things. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not the same thing, but this feels in the same neighborhood. Stephen King was an alcoholic, and he was deeply afraid that if he stopped drinking, he wouldn't be able to write anymore.
No, it's the same thing.
Because it was his. He thought that was where his muse came from.
I guess that's a dual-fold thing too. One, he's depending on the energy of the chaos, but two, alcohol puts you into that
Subdued
theta state.
Yeah.
To where you are able to reach higher realms using that as a substance.
Right.
So it's
instead
probably
of,
both.
Going inside or meditating or calming
meditation
yourself down.
would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turns out he dried up and still writes, so that's good. But
right. Once you become dependent on that as your source of existence, it is almost impossible to imagine what a life would be like.
Yeah.
Without it.
Right, and that's doubly bad because there's a substance addiction in there too, which makes it even harder.
I'm just talking about in his case, alcohol, but in this case, just the energy itself.
Right, but you would get it even substance, yes, but even if it's a behavior, if it's a whatever it is, it's basically an addiction there too.
Yeah, no, you're addicted on the chaos in order to get a jolt into performance.
Because a jolt into performance or a jolt into feeling normal. Feeling. Or just feeling. Because it's like if that isn't there, I think it's too. It doesn't feel right. It feels unnatural. It feels too
boring.
Yeah, too calm, too boring. It feels like something's missing. There's some excitement that's missing. And now, how can I create some excitement? I'll pick a fight.
Well, because your regular everyday life, right, becomes very monotone. One, it becomes dull because the kick or the fix that you get from that initial jolt is tremendous, right? Versus in order to train yourself to receive that constant hit, let's say, if I'm using addict terms here, as a source of life, period, takes a lot of work. And what's more importantly, it takes a lot of personal trauma releasing in order to make that happen.
Right. That's hard. And that's not fun. Picking a fight's fun.
Well, yeah. And so, I have someone that I know that, a conversation, just a normal everyday conversation is usually like, oh, guess what? I'm feeling kind of down and low. And I don't have enough energy. Let's start some chaos.
Right.
And the fight can be as silly as it could be about nothing.
Right.
It doesn't even matter what the fight is.
It could just be a tone that's inserted into a conversation.
Yeah, knowing that it would trigger you into a response and then respond, and so just there will be ping-ponging yourself forward, right? So the goal in that instance of when somebody's starting to cause turmoil is the knowingness that once they influx this energy within themselves and push your button, right? And if you haven't had a lot of trauma processing, it is very easy to get your buttons pushed.
Yeah, right.
Or if there's a chronic repeat pattern between you and this person, then it's very easy to know exactly what you can do in order to push this person's buttons, right? So you would come in knowing what to do exactly in order to get everyone riled up. So then their influx would actually almost feed you, right? So at that point, I know this is going to sound absolutely terrible as a term, but there's such thing as energy vampires, right? In that instance, not only you're depending on your own personal jolt of energy, you're now feeding off of everyone else's.
Yeah.
And so this fight becomes its own source by everybody else who is disturbed within the presence, and then you drawing on
These
that.
people thrive on it.
Yes, people thrive on it.
And at the same time, it is very draining for those who don't thrive on it. It is literally an energy vampire situation.
Yes,
That's a real thing.
Yeah, but it is draining for individual too, because they have bled themselves dry, and this is the only way for them to continue to have any life source.
Yeah. There's no, in that analogy, there's no food, there's no water, there's no sustenance. It's just adrenaline shots.
Yeah, over and over and over.
As is the only thing you're living on, which may work in a pinch, but is, as a long-term thing, is not healthy.
Well, one, if you dissect it, and let's look at what's inside of it. One is you actually have suppressed the energy of wholeness, of existence. And if you imagine that circle, if you flash it here once again, as infinite potential of energy, right? Because it is an infinite potential of energy, right? When does Jesus can turn water into wine, right? When does Jesus walk on water? Well, he's utilizing this energy, right? The energy that is available to us in our everyday living is this energy, right? And so that's just Jesus's interpretation of that energy. I'm not saying we're all Jesus, but I'm not saying that. Jesus will not be offended by this, believe me. And so what the people who utilize this energy, right, this collapse energy of jolt after jolt after jolt, right, the section off section, what they have done is they have taken the infinite funnel, actually infinite line, infinite channel that is unobstructed, and they went, oh, guess what? I will funnel it off this infinite source, and I will funnel it off and only use this interpretation of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the circle is a tiniest little interpretation, right, of the infinite source of energy, infinite this, but without the jolts.
Yeah.
And so what they're doing is basically, if you imagine a flowing river, right, and then you shut the river off, and then all of a sudden this area becomes dry, right? And then you dam it off, and then you take a tiny little sliver of it, right, and then you open this dam. Well, guess what? This is going to be an enormous amount of flow right here where this dam is constricting this sea and then channeling through this tiny little thing. And it's no longer a calm flowing river. Now this is a raging, earth tearing event. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. Maybe we can draw a diagram of that as well.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be a calm flowing river. It's dammed up. It's backed up. There's a hole in the dam that represents your particular chaos energy.
Yeah, your interpretation of this.
Because it's so backed up, the pressure is just shooting this powerful stream through there. There's the same amount of net flow, but it maybe not.
No, it's not.
But it's whereas the calm river just gracefully goes down, this can cut through steel because it's busting out so hard.
Yeah. But in essence, if you imagine those as feelings, right? And if you imagine the sea, the calmly flowing river, right, as a feeling, it is vast, but it's calm. And so you become dependent on this calmness. It's almost impossible because that is just a state of being. That is a state of the universal existence. But the feeling when it's jutting out and it's basically eroding the earth and it's cutting through, feel what that pressure is doing and how it would feel as energy, right? It's like a jolt after jolt after jolt, right? And so sooner or later, if you're depending on the jolt, right, and then you ride that cycle of jolt, and then, then you have continuous turmoil until it never actually becomes a flowing river later, right? It is always just another jolt and another jolt and another jolt. So you have dammed up all energetic flow and you're interpreting this vastness, this calm state of being through this raging dam. And sooner or later, or possibly depending on when you have started to utilize this process, you don't even know that the calm river exists. You actually don't even know that there is such thing as more energy in the calm flowing way that gives you even more potential, gives you even more output, gives you even more, let's say, dopamine, but at a constant state, as opposed to hit after hit after hit.
Right.
Right. Because when you hit, it needs to almost calm itself down before another hit can register.
Right.
But imagine having this hit as a constant source of your being at all times in your life.
Right. It's like, you have access to, a wholesome, healthy meal, but you're saying no to all that, and you're just going after the fun dip over to the side. You're just snorting fun dip.
Snorting.
As your that would probably hurt. That is all you're living on. And sure, that's gonna, fun dip tastes great. That's fun and all, but that's you're living only on that.
Yeah.
Instead of a well balanced meal that's gonna actually fulfill your soul. And the well balanced meal is maybe feels, if you're used to snorting fun dip, a well balanced meal sounds boring. Right?
Well, in this case,
that's not a perfect analogy either.
You don't even possibly know that there is such thing as a well-balanced meal.
There you go.
Right? In this case, you're only familiar with snorting fun dip.
Right? I can't imagine how bad that would be to snort fun dip.
I don't know how snorting anything up your nose gets, cocaine is snorted, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
I don't actually understand how a powder. Does it go to your
lungs, or does it?
Well, no,
if you,
what does that mean? I guess I don't, maybe I'm too naive. Obviously, we haven't done enough drugs. I don't have any desire to facilitate drugs for myself.
Go get some fun dip.
Get some fun dip. Right, but I wanted to point out that this decision was never a conscious decision. Like when these people made this decision, this was not like
not a malicious. I'm out here to.
Right. This is a way they found that they can function in the universe because all the other ways were not available to them. Because the amount of trauma that was sitting inside their being was so overwhelming that and they didn't know how to process trauma. They still don't know how to process trauma.
Mechanism.
Yeah. So you learn to live with unprocessed energy of chaos, and you learn to work it. You learn to work it and to utilize it, as opposed to looking elsewhere, right? And so I'm trying to think of where I want to go with this next. I know where I want to end up. So does that do justice explaining what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
And and we know multitude of peoples who, if not at all times, utilize this energy and function at chaos, sometimes do it.
Right.
When the well runs dry, and I know the well running dry doesn't mix well with. Well, yeah, maybe it does mix well with the water metaphor, right? You cannot feel the flow. You cannot feel the river's flow, right? And so you dam it up in order to not feel the well running dry.
I mean, just turn on the news and you will see examples of this in business, in politics. It's hard to miss if you're looking for it.
Yeah. No, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. But I wanted to dissect it and showcase it for what it actually is, as opposed to for people to judge how it looks in the world, and then not understand the actual pain and the details behind it. So step one maybe is here's a showcase of what it actually is, right? No, we can judge. I can judge this, the person who does this with me all the time. I can judge them all I want. But in the long run, what I can do is I can step back and see where they're coming from, right? And there's a lot of compassion in seeing that this is where they're coming from.
Yeah.
They don't know any better, and they have spent so much time building up these dams for quick fixes, and they spend so much time running and utilizing this energy, and it has worked for them for, let's say, decades and decades and decades. Now it's just an intuitive, like, I don't even know what else I would ever do.
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to point that out, of maybe explaining what it is I'm talking about. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out, and this is kind of the key here, is what will be happening here in the recent future is the
It's not going to work anymore.
yeah, sure. Let's just say it that way.
Right. I mean, I think it isn't going to be received. Right. If someone's trying to stir up chaos and you don't, if it's you and someone else is trying to stir up chaos and you don't get stirred up by it, it doesn't work. Right.
Yeah.
If there's a, drama queen who's trying to, oh my gosh, whatever, but you don't, engage with that, then that doesn't work. They don't get their fix off of that. And I think more people are turning into the mode where they don't want anything to do with that. So they're removing themselves from situations and not engaging in with not even necessarily with those people, but with those, when it turns into that, right?
The concepts of that.
The concepts of that, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's no longer working for them in the way that it used to. Like, I know I used to start it for sure and engage with it for sure. I'd get all riled up. Oh my gosh, this, that, whatever. It's a lot harder to get me riled up these days. It still happens, sure. But
no, but
I actively don't want to. I used to actively want to because it fed something in me. You get two of these people together, you'll just feed off of each other, and I actively don't want to. It doesn't feel good anymore.
Yeah. When we first got together and you fed on this energy, I didn't mind. I enjoy a banter to an extent.
Yeah.
And it's not about winning. With you, it's about winning, maybe.
Yeah.
With me, it's just about actually standing up for my point.
Yeah.
But to you, it didn't even matter what my take on that was. You just wanted the chaos. You just wanted an argument. And I would engage. I'm like, okay, well, yeah. And so at some point in my life, I did not see it through what it was, right? I was just like, oh, yeah, you want to argue between yellow and orange? We will argue between yellow and orange, right? But then at some point, when I started to process my own pain body or my own trauma, or to understand myself more, right? Maybe to some extent you can say that that's just wisdom, but I don't think it is wisdom. I think it's actually seeing through what like energy does, what a multiplication of like energy brings into the picture. And I honestly just didn't feel like I wanted to participate in it. It just came down to like, yeah, I don't want to have this argument over yellow and orange.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just not interested in that argument.
Yeah, because the yellow and orange thing was that's a specific thing. We were driving down the road and I'm like, oh, I remember very specifically the second time I did it, and I don't remember it all the first time.
The first time I did argue with you.
Yeah.
We would argue, yeah.
And I'm like, look at the lines in the road. Those are yellow, but then the sign is orange. And where's the difference between there's a line. You take the spectrum from yellow to orange, and there's a line somewhere, and everybody has a different line. And to the left of this is yellow, and to the right of this is orange. And your line's here, my line's here. And that's where I thought I was going with it. Isn't that interesting? which I do think is an interesting thing.
Yeah, except that it was
Except
argumentative.
I took it in an argumentative way.
Yeah. Do you remember?
Ironically, with the person who has the better color acuity.
Yeah, we did a color acuity test, and I have a 100% color
Yeah,
acuity.
I got one wrong, but you got them all right.
I know that bothers you till this
Yeah,
day.
about this day.
No, and do you remember the whole argument of the whole thing about the dress? This was like 5 years ago or so.
The dress.
The dress that some people saw it as purple, and other people saw
Was
as
it golden blue or
yeah, golden blue.
and the other one?
But the blue was almost like purplish blue, right? And so the
Yeah.
picture was actually of a gold dress. Is that correct?
I don't remember which one it really is.
But depending on people's color acuity,
Right.
different people, and then their screens,
Yeah.
right? The screen that you're looking at as
Yeah.
well.
And it's people see it one way or the other way, and it's like impossible to see it the way that you don't see it.
I could turn myself into both.
I guess eventually I could, but like
Yeah.
you see it and you're like, well, obviously that's yellow and blue, whatever the colors are,
It was yellow. It was blue and gold.
blue and gold, or
No, some people saw blue, some people saw gold.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's
No, this is going to get personal and touchy, but I think we need to go there. Whenever you were trying to do another argument with me over shades of yellows and shades of orange, you were trying to process how you felt about me having an affair.
was it after that already?
It was that drive.
Which drive?
The drive where we went to the west, and then
Oh, really? I thought it was going up to Cincinnati.
no. It was the drive to the west. And remember, you said like for the second half of that vacation, you were just in a lost space because you couldn't process
I was a mess.
the affair.
I remember being an absolute mess on that drive.
Yeah, and that was the drive where you tried to start that argument with me.
I really thought it was the first one going to Cincinnati? Because the one I remember was driving to Cincinnati. Up 71.
No, where I decided not to engage with you, and I said, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think. Why are you trying to start an argument with me over yellow and orange? That is not an argument I'm interested in having." So I rejected you for an argument. But the truth was, and maybe this is, I want to maybe showcase how people could deal with it or see through it. Is the truth was you wanted to argue with me, or you wanted to voice your voice of how you actually feel about the trauma of being the husband who was cheated on, right? That was the core of the issue that you were feeling emotionally. But because you were not allowing yourself to process those stuck emotions or even to just let them flow, right? You were attempting not to let them flow.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, you didn't know what to do. I don't know what you ended up doing with it, but maybe that's something we can address. But instead of allowing them to flow or even have a conversation with me or be comfortable about it or whatever, right? You wanted chaos. So then this energy that is at the surface, which is you feeling like shit about being cheated on, right? Has a way to go, somewhere to go. And your somewhere to go was, let's argue about yellow and orange. Which is perfectly normal, right?
Yeah.
Like the energy is bubbling, right? It's at the surface, right? So what do you need to do? You need to actualize it out into processing of pain, processing of trauma, processing of what it means to be me and feel this human experience that is my life.
Yeah.
And allow yourself to feel it. But if you don't, then you try to start fights right? Subconsciously, your higher self goes, guess what? We'll start a fight. For all intents and purposes in your life between yellow and orange, but the truth is, so this energy can flow.
I don't. I mean, it was all subconscious because I don't even remember that. I remember you shutting down the argument though, and I was like, "Oh, this feels incredibly unsatisfying." It feels like not only unsatisfying, but like almost like embarrassing and like I was called out on being like a child.
You were being a child.
Which I'm sure I was. And so it was like, oh, it really went a long way to make me think before I do that again. And I'm sure I've done it since, but it was like, ooh, it was a very visceral feeling of I don't get what I want out of doing this. That's for sure.
Yeah, but you wanted a fix.
Yeah, I guess.
You wanted to fix.
So that was a very effective way to start stopping that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the feeling very clearly of it was kind of like,
This makes you feel worse
it
than
makes
you're
me feel
supposed to.
worse. Yeah. I mean, this was something that was supposed to
I was already
ostensibly
feeling like shit.
make me feel better, but yeah, and it's like it's embarrassing. It's like I'm like I didn't want did I want to I don't want to have a fight. Maybe I don't think I wanted to have a fight. And I'm trying to like cuz I didn't go into it going I want to have a fight. I absolutely didn't.
It's all subconscious.
I enjoy our banter and the idea of how people perceive things differently is fascinating to me, and that is something that is I would think would be interesting to talk about. And yet I apparently used the exact same topic twice for a fight.
Well, in a sense, y- I mean, think about it. It is the ultimate argument where there's no concise winner. So
That's what's so interesting
by
about it.
default, why argue about something that is just a matter of opinion? And then two, interpretation of how the light shines. Which screen are you looking at?
Sure.
What is the brightness on the screen? Do you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
so
No. I
much
mean,
nuance. There's a discussion, and discussions are fine. The world is
yeah.
analyzed through discussions.
If
But
you
then
had
there's an
if
argument.
you had asked me, I would say I wanted to have a discussion.
Yeah.
I 100% believed in that moment that I wanted to have a discussion. But I do know that I have historically, and I'm sure that time too, would have taken that discussion and pushed it into an argument.
No, you wanted to start. Yeah, it
Pushed it
would have started as a discussion.
you know, debate where there is right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And right
Yeah.
now I'm like, how could it even be right and wrong? It's like, if I call it yellow and you call it orange, how can one be right and one be wrong? Right?
Yeah. Well, no, subconsciously, right? What we will do is if something is bubbling at the surface and we actually possibly don't know how to address what's actually bothering us or what is coming up for us, we will tangentially start a different fight. In all honesty, because our higher self is subconsciously trying to get that addressed, or we subconsciously trying to get that addressed. So then some energy flows,
Yeah.
right? To begin with, the goal is just to have some energy flow, right? If I have trapped energy, I'm not processing it, and I'm not actualizing it within myself as a trauma, then that just having some of it flow is fine. And even if the argument has nothing to do with what you're actually feeling, that still relieves that pressure valve, right? You're still allowing the flow to happen. But again, but you're not addressing the core of that clump, right? It's like it's like a balloon, right? An inflated balloon, and you poke one little hole in it, and it's like the air is coming out with one little hole, right? But the truth is, the entire balloon is still completely inflated, and it will not completely deflate, period.
Probably because
Be-
you're blowing more air into it at the same time.
yeah, at the same time as you're blowing more air because you're not actively even acknowledging the fact that there's this balloon that is your pain body or your trauma, right?
Literally full of hot air.
Yeah, right. I'm drawing all these analogies, but it is the idea behind all of this is extremely complex. People spend lifetimes analyzing this and trying to figure out, but none of it is actually all that complicated, and it just all comes down to we have become dependent on contracting the actual flow that comes to us naturally by the fact that we're a human being alive on this planet. And we have basically transgressed it into whatever our interpretation is. But behind of it, but it exists. This transgression exists because we're not processing anything that is underneath, right? And thus, we walk in, and sometimes the only way we know how to get any energy to come into any project or have any momentum is to start fires, start drilling yourself and then everyone around you into that thing, right? But it will stop working. One, in the case of you and I, because I have decided that I just don't want to engage into arguments anymore. So yes, some people will just walk away.
Yeah, and in you doing that, that triggered me into evaluating it, and I wasn't even super introspective back then, but that alone was like, I was like, why am I actually doing this?
Yeah, but in your case, you and I are committed to each other through our marriage, right? And the truth is, at that point, I made a decision that if you want to have a relationship with me, you will no longer be able to utilize that tactic in order to facilitate your form of living.
Right.
So in that case, I forced you to rethink, where am I going to draw energy
Sure.
from for life
Yeah.
source, right? But in that case, you are committed to me. In the instance where no one is committed to no one,
It's just a person on the street.
it's just
Maybe it's a coworker or
it's
something, or
just anyone out there, right? Anyone out there, a coworker, a manager, a boss.
someone you see on TV. They can be.
Yes, you can just roll through people, and because the second one person confronts you on guess what? This is not going to work with me. You will move on to someone else. And then you will basically, I hate to say it, I know this sounds rude, but this is all subconscious because the trauma is there. You will just use people and you will roll through people over and over and over in order to extract as much chaos out of them as possible until they decide better for themselves, because you're not working on your own thing. And then they will decide to move on, and then you will replace them with someone else. Right.
Yeah.
But besides the fact that it will not work, I want to say, and this is kind of important, it will not work because the people who you have utilized that technique with will leave. It will not work because you will not be able to use that form of energy drawing, period. Right?
How so?
Like the actualization of Earth, or the actualization of us as human beings, is taking us into a point of retrospect, of self-retrospect, where we will have to have all of our trauma and all of our stuck energy come up, because the Earth, and I think like 2 episodes ago, maybe, it hasn't published yet, but by the time this one published, I think it was 2 episodes ago, the frequency of Earth is adjusting in such way that we will not longer be able to keep the densified structures of this compression, of this interpretation of chaos. So this bubble inside a bubble will not be able to hold form. It will dissolve.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, the people, more and more people aren't going to react to it, but B, it just isn't going to work anymore.
Yeah. That structure, the densified structure of the wholeness being densified into density, will not be able to work. Like quite literally, let's say from scientific terms, density will not hold space. We will not be able to hold space of density. And so what will happen is, if your body is holding density and you're dependent on that density for energy, your world will shatter. And I know we did this 2 episodes ago, but I wanted to touch on this particular nuance of that same concept.
I mean, this is very closely, I think, related to what there's a whole lot of people who basically say the same thing. I know Joe Dispenza says it, but you end up making yourself sick or making yourself healthy based on what you're thinking, what you're believing, and by extension, the type of energy that you're resonating with. And if you're resonating with, this chaotic, let's call it negative energy, it's it's going to manifest itself in your life as illness, as things that are, unfortunate situations and things like that.
Mm, yes, but to clarify, the trauma causes stuck energy. The stuck energy will manifest itself sooner or later as illness, because you're not releasing the energy of the trauma. Is that what you're saying?
Um,
Is it same thing or not?
maybe you're taking it a step deeper. You're saying that it's the trauma is the unreleased trauma is it, and I was saying that it's the outward expression of it that was doing it. But the outward expression is only there because of the unreleased trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. In the past, right? But that outward expression actually never released any, right? That balloon was still filled with hot air, let's say, right? If we're coming back
Yeah.
to that analogy. And so if that's a pressure cooker, that pressure cooker creates chaos.
Yeah.
Thus, it creates in the not chaos like outflow chaos, but actually creates internal chaos. Thus, sickness. It creates sickness.
And these activities that we're talking about, picking fights and whatever, it's maybe the slightest little pressure release off that pressure cooker, but it's not real. It's a Band-Aid over the situation. It's not.
Yeah, you're not
fixing
healing anything. But you're feeling the energy.
It's a symptom.
Yeah.
It's a symptom of what's going on inside.
Yes.
But what's going on inside, I genuinely believe will lead to, I mean, obviously it leads to more stress. It like definitionally is stress. More stress, higher that everybody agrees that leads to higher blood pressure, leads to ulcers, leads to, gastrointestinal issues, insomnia, all, there's no debate about that. Right?
No, but some people will debate that, right? Some people will walk around going, "Oh, I don't know why all these health things are happening to me," not wanting to actually see what's behind them.
I mean, and beyond that, heart disease, cancer, it's
immobility.
Yeah.
One of the most common interpretation of this would be gastrointestinal issues because you're literally sick to your stomach inside. You're already sick.
You can't digest
you can't process it, right? I don't know if we talked about this, but maybe we should have an episode on this. Disease or all forms of illnesses will quite literally present themselves as a message to you because of what they're a message to you.
Weirdly literal.
Like literal, right? So like if you are unable to process food gastrointestinally, that's you're literally unable to process the trauma inside or the pain inside or what's coming at you. And then thus you having gastrointestinal issues, right? Stomach issues, ulcers, whatever.
I think
if you're having joint pain or joint disorders, right, in your spine or in your knees or in your shoulders, right, immobility, you're not flexible enough within life. You're not processing whatever's stuck within you and is causing you to go rigid.
Louise Hay has a giant list of these.
Yeah, Louise Hay does, and then also maybe so put that as a link, but also Dolores Cannon's daughter.
Okay.
Also has another book. And she channeled them. I say channeled them, but she got them from Dolores Cannon's past life regressions. And it's a book. It's called Soul Speak, I think. And it's basically like, okay, here's if you're experiencing this, here's what it actually is, right? So immobile joints is your immobility, your unflexibility in life.
The last chapter of David Hawkins' Letting Go was a story about this guy who was incredibly sick. He had
dying, right?
He had a lot of things wrong with him, just one on top of the other, and they compounded each other. And there was medicine for this and medicine to all this stuff,
but none of it was working. I think he was dying. Right?
I think and through letting go, and it was the letting go process. Part of it is, or can be at least, identifying what it is you're letting go. Where does this come from?
What to begin with, there's like most obvious culprits.
Yeah.
To begin with, it's easy. You're like, guess what? Here's the thing that I'm literally trying not to think about it every day.
Yeah. What is it you're not trying to think about? Work on that first.
Yeah.
There's your low hanging fruit. Because if you're trying not to think about it, you're putting all that effort into suppressing it, then it's it's
well, but instead you're doing this
extra energy depleting. Anyway, so as he started, identifying and letting go of these traumas, the associated illnesses started disappearing in like medical miracle type of type of ways. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, I've had an ulcer, for the last 30 years, but now that I've let go of, I don't remember what it was, my ulcer's better. And and now, obviously don't need to take the ulcer medicine, which helps with whatever else that um
Mhm.
but there was like a dozen plus, like, life debilitating illnesses that this person had, and all of them cleared up as he started letting go of more and more uh
Energy.
stuck energies, traumas. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, so it works both ways. If you're holding on to this negative energy, it will make you sick. It just will.
Mhm.
And if you embrace positive energy, it will make you healthier. It just will.
Yeah. But but I think people should look at it. This is what I wanted to clarify next. People shouldn't look at it embracing positive energy versus negative. Maybe look at it as it is all positive energy. It is all love and light. And it is, I say love and light, right? Like, I know people don't like that term, but it is all the energy of your existence. That infinite energy is available to you by the mere nature that you exist. It is quite literally infinity and unlimited potential. But what people do is it's not that they go, oh, instead of this energy, I will use this. No, they just subset it and they just compress it into that funnel. And so what you're basically doing, it's not that you're utilizing the wrong energy, you're taking the energy of the infinite, and then through your choice of not processing your body, basically your body almost becomes like a funnel that like shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. And sooner or later, when this guy is having all the ulcers and is basically dying from 20 different sicknesses, he has taken this flow, this infinite flow, and then suppressed it down to where there's now a trickle, right?
Yeah.
And
But it's a crappy trickle.
well, it's a trickle that is literally killing him, right? Everything around you, the pressure of all the trauma, of all the unprocessed thought, of all the unprocessed suppression of self, really becomes to where you have no energy left, but you're still living with the clusterfuck of shit that is your trauma, and so that's already eating you inside, right? And it's to me that is the most. That's the most saddest thing is that we're killing ourselves, right? We're just killing ourselves from within, right? Yesterday, you showed me the New Yorker. Was it the New Yorker cartoon?
Yeah, I
You
think
should
so.
flash it here.
Oh, I don't know if it was New York or it was just some random cartoon.
Oh, so now I'm creating work of you trying to refine that again. But it's basically like a guy in the martial arts setting, and the instructor is teaching him martial art
Yeah.
moves.
And there's like, here's what you do if there's a kick to the head or something.
Yeah, and the guy's like, "Wait, but what if your opponent is coming from the inside?" But that's what we are. We're our own opponents
Yeah,
coming
absolutely.
from the inside,
Yeah.
right? And I know that's a cliche of a joke and whatever, but it totally applies to the fact that we are quite literally killing ourselves.
Yeah.
And in the body, our body, right? The reason why Dolores Cannon's, I think Cindy Cannon, I don't know, I don't remember what her name is, but she literally called the book Soul Speaks is because your soul is literally trying to communicate with you. Like, hey, if you're feeling this thing, please, here's the explanation behind it. I'm giving you a tool to fix it by giving you this illness so
Yeah.
you can actualize of what that actually feels,
Yeah.
right?
And I mean, I don't know about hers, but I know Louise Hayes online. You can there's just a giant list of them. Go find what ails you and look next to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if
I mean,
they
you may or may not.
cross section themselves or not
Yeah, you may or
between
may
each
not
other.
agree with it, but it's, if nothing else, look at that and go, is is there any truth in here? What is,
Yeah.
oh, my foot hurts, so do I have a problem moving forward with something?
Yeah. Right. Or, I know I'm gonna draw some controversial opinions here, but with COVID, our lungs, right? It started affecting our lungs and we couldn't breathe, right? Why we're like quite literally can't breathe, like or pushed down, or we're suppressed, we're unable to draw breath, we're unable to draw life. And I think the reason why it was pandemic is because all of us were in that position. Everybody who got affected by the fact that, guess what, this affects my breathing, like quite literally source of life, is because you felt suppressed. You felt pushed down. And then that quite literally affects itself in the expansion of the lung, right? What is expansion of the lung? Expansion of life. You can't expand your life because you're being suppressed. You feel suppressed.
Yeah. When I had COVID, I don't remember any breathing problems,
No, we didn't have breathing problems.
but I had my heart rate was like 20 beats per minute over what it should have been the entire time for like a week. It was awful because I just felt like my heart it got tired. It
Mm.
got tired from,
Overworked.
I'm just sitting here and, maybe it's beating at 60, 70, just sitting here, but it was at 100 just sitting here, let alone if I was doing anything, exertive. And
Yeah.
you can't just have it go at 100 for days. It's impossible to sleep when when your heart is beating that fast. So I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't
What
actually thought about what that means, but
I mean, a heart is the pump,
yeah,
source of life. It literally allows your self to exist, the essence of self. Or work, you're overworking. Like if the essence of self and this is the natural flow, raised heartbeat would be overwork, overworking your being, overexerting your being, like not being at the calm level of self. You're always spiking yourself up.
maybe, yeah.
But
I don't know.
it is easier for me to do that because I know you, right? And your entire relationship with me, especially back then, was more of like trying to be someone else, trying to work hard at being you. Like being you was not enough. You had to be someone else and something other than you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it is more work than just the status quo of a natural heartbeat.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so a raised heart rate would mean like you're trying to be someone else. You're trying to be something more than what the status quo of you is.
Mm.
Not because it's necessary, because you feel the need to,
Right.
right?
There's yeah, right. The difference between what's necessary and what you feel is necessary.
Well, no, all the illnesses are there because it's not right. You're not trying to be immobile. You just don't see the fact that you're being immobile, right? Inflexible, right? When someone's spine is being fused together because the discs are wearing out. Guess what? Inflexibility. You can't you right if this is the flow of life and you're supposed to
Yeah.
move.
The is it the yogis say that you can basically gauge a person's not their age, their like spiritual age based on the flexibility. Is it spiritual age or is it physical age on the flexibility of their spine?
I mean, I think your essence of self flows into your spine and then propagates its way up. So if you're not flowing your energy, right, from your dantian, from your root chakra and your sacrum and your solar plexus and allowing it to flow up,
Kundalini style.
Kundalini style energy, then by default, you're restricting the essence of your creation, the essence of yourself. And so I think what the yoga is trying to actually say by it, I think it's misinterpreted by the Western world, is your age is determined, meaning how long you will live is determined by whether or not you're restricting the natural flow of the Kundalini, of the energy of you. Kundalini simply means energy of you, right? This life force that we're actually talking about, the outer circle is your Kundalini. Um, and so if you're restricting it, I mean, imagine a tree that is unable to suck nutrients from the ground, right? Sooner or later. And as you add more trauma, as more shit to it, that funnel becomes more locked and more locked and more locked. And sooner or later, you just have no energy left. And so the chances of you actually having this as a connection source between the root, Mother Earth, and then the cosmos, and allowing that clear channel to be, that will kill you, right? And not having that channel be clear and open will basically result in death.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I wanted to emphasize is, as the energy will become unavailable, you utilizing the dense form of self become unavailable, the natural response will be like, holy fuck, what the fuck is happening, right? And then people will go into panic mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, everything that they have ever known, right? Everything that they have ever used as their essence of self will no longer work.
Right.
And so you will be very lost in that space if you don't hear this podcast. You will not know what to do.
Yeah.
And so if there's people around you who are in that space, or if you're experiencing that, just realize that that is what's happening. You're no longer able to utilize the low fruit of your trauma as a source for interpretive energy. And so, because the trauma will have to come out, it will have to start presenting itself out. Now, if you're not processing the trauma, it's almost like irrelevant, because guess what? You're not able to use it for any other way. You're not able to relieve that valve in any other way, because the trauma will just start coming. And then, drug use, just trying to block off,
Numbing it out.
numbing it out in
Yeah.
other ways.
Numbing it out with is the easy go to,
Yeah.
especially in the Western world with, anyone can get alcohol, anyone can just overeat.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy. It's really easy.
Yeah.
Like, from experience, I know it's really easy.
Yeah, but right from the experience, you had an option of always having that as your status quo. And only, I mean, I'm not taking all the credit here, but only because I made that not work with me, and you chose to stay in the marriage with me,
Yeah.
you had to make a change.
Yeah. It's
But other people will just, they will just not even know where to go.
It would have been a lot easier
Oh, really?
to just stay with the status quo. I think it would have been easier to stay with the status quo. Yeah.
But in this case, the status quo will not work.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying it would have worked, but that would have been the easier path, the more comfortable path, the default state to just maintain the status quo.
Yeah. But as it's falling away.
But now, a couple years later, it's like, yeah, that doesn't, it wouldn't work.
Well, you see through it.
The idea of oh, I had a hard day, give me a couple of drinks. There's no, it wouldn't work. There's no appeal to that.
Yeah. Or the idea is, I feel like shit. I'm actually not gonna process the feeling, but I'm gonna start a fight about something else.
Yeah, that it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, but to you, right? You worked it out naturally. Eventually. Well, because you by choice started to actualize yourself and trying to see through your own bullshit, right? But if no one has been on that path, and then all of us, and then has no interest in doing that, and then all of a sudden, the floor underneath their feet just gets chopped off, they're falling. They're in a free fall, right? Complete free fall. I mean, imagine you not having me say bullshit to you, to where you actually have anyone to bounce what you feel off of, to understand the idea.
I would be way down a terrible rabbit hole.
Well, no, I'm not trying to sell you on me, but do you know what I mean?
If I didn't have, it happens to be you, but if I didn't have something that kind of showed me a different way, oh my gosh.
But you gradually, by choice, went through that process. What will happen to everybody right now is they will be in a free fall. I mean, can you imagine what free fall feels like? You're literally drowning.
Yeah, I know exactly what it feels like.
Yeah. So instead of leaving on the like, oh, guess what? Now you're drowning, la la, end of podcast. No, I want to say is, And this is what I want to
There's
emphasize.
light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I don't want to, but I don't want to make it as a sales pitch. I wanted to describe the process of how the picture actually looked like and what was the misinterpretation. So the misinterpretation is I live and depend on the chaos, on trauma, on anger as my source of energy because I don't know anything different. But no, everybody at all times always has access to the essence of themselves in its purest form. And the only thing that is falling away right now is your particular interpretation of that energetic flow as a filter of chaos. And so once the filter of chaos falls away, because your trauma will start coming to the surface, what is the reassuring factor that I want to say is what's available to you is actually infinite potential and the infinite energy that you have always had, which is a million times more powerful than your interpretation of what chaos could deliver. Right? So it is actually like the best thing that could possibly happen to you. I know that sounds weird right now, considering everyone's in a free fall, but this is actually the best thing possible. And so if you just see it for what it is, as an incredible opportunity to now force this trauma on out and start actualizing it out into your own truth, right? Processing it, letting go, again, David Hawkins' book, just letting it go. If you don't follow my technique, just allowing your truth to be your truth and then go, I'm willing to feel what is it that I have been trying not to feel all my life.
Yeah. I think that's a feeling it and not judging what you feel, because you're like, oh, I feel angry, I feel whatever, and I don't want to feel angry, I don't want to feel this. That adding that judgment on top of it only makes it worse.
Yeah.
I think, and I try to do this every, we meditate every morning, and the first couple minutes of my meditation is to sit down and kind of take a mental snapshot of, what am I feeling? Is there something on my mind? Am I anxious? Am I nervous? Where am I? And whatever it is, it's okay. It's okay if I'm angry. It's okay if I'm happy. It's okay if I'm whatever it is. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. We are humans. We have emotions. We have feelings. We don't necessarily have much of any control over these. You feel what you feel, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Nothing good, bad, right, or wrong. No, it's just, this is what you feel. Take an inventory of how you feel every day. You can do it right when you wake up. You can do it right before you go to bed, and just notice it. And I think that alone, just knowing, oh, you know what? I do feel, anxious about, and then maybe, A, do that. B, see if you can, why do I feel anxious? Is it because of, something at work or something at home or whatever? Or is it, there have been so many times, and it hasn't happened lately, but it used to happen a lot. I would like absorb some emotion that was not mine. I would be, oh my gosh, I'm all anxious. I'm all like, especially if I wake up and it's from a dream, and you wake up and you're like, oh, I feel off because of this dream.
Mm-hmm.
And left unchecked, you're going to feel off the whole day
Mm-hmm.
because of a dream. Or because, and maybe it's from a dream, maybe it's from something or someone else, maybe it's from a past life, I don't know. But the second I go, wait a minute, this isn't mine. This isn't my anxiety. It's gone. It just gone instantly. And it's like, oh my gosh, if I didn't stop and do this check, the whole day would be shot.
Yeah. Well, you're just
easily
carrying that as your truth.
Yeah, you inherit it almost. You absorb it out of nothing, and it's, you don't have to.
Yeah.
The Letting Go book is fantastic. I recommend it to as a way to really, do this at a high level.
Yeah. And on top of that, maybe in the description, also put the link to two of the meditations that I did. One of them in specific or letting go of specific emotions, which I think it was grief, anger, and fear. because those are the three that actually densify us the most. And the second one is just to let go, period. You don't even have to think of, I purposely did the two just because those are the most three plausible culprits, those three low-hanging fruit ones. But the next one is you don't even have to process what it is. Just do that meditation. And then, if you do the meditation through my recording, you can kind of get a gist of what that actually is. And the more you do it, the more it just becomes natural for you to always allow yourself to feel.
I've been trying to do that just throughout the waking day.
Yeah. Just at all points, maybe pause here and there and go, wait, I'm willing. So, right, the key to say is I'm willing to feel whatever it is I need to feel. And that is in the meditation, I basically kind of go through that. But just enforce that within yourself is I'm willing to feel whatever it is that I need to feel.
Yeah.
And that does wonders. Just allowing yourself to feel whatever it is that you're trying not to feel.
Yeah. And I historically, I would like deny that. I'm like, oh, well, I would actually feel, let's say, anxious. Like,
Yeah.
in truth, I feel anxious, but I would be like, no, I don't. I would try to like
Logic it out.
Well, not logic. We weasel out of it and like basically lie to myself. I don't feel anxious. I'm my heart rate's high and I've got sweaty palm. No, I don't feel like I would lie to myself about it in order to make myself feel better that maybe I don't feel anxious when in truth I do. And
and it's okay to feel anxious.
That's the thing. It's okay to feel anxious. There's nothing wrong with feeling anxious.
Right.
Guess what? If you're anxious, knowing that you feel anxious and accepting that you feel anxious is much further along the path to stopping that than pretending that you don't when you actually do. That doesn't do anybody any good to pretend that you don't and lie to yourself about it. No, accept it. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
The catalyst for change is the admittance of feeling.
Yeah. Which it goes hand in hand with awareness.
Yeah. Right. Awareness of self, right? And we have said this before, but I will maybe reiterate, because we could not feel as children and we did not know how to process complex emotions that we did not have had a vocabulary for back when we were young. We just had this energy stuck within us. It just compiled itself into these bubbles of clusterfucks of shit that they just sit and live within us. And then we never, not because that was an intentional way for us to fuck ourselves up. That was just the point of life is I will take on these meanings, not know what they actually are, and hold on to them. So then later in life, I can address them. That's the whole point of humanity.
Yeah.
But until I'm ready to address them, my filter of life will be these little bubbles.
Yeah.
But guess what? At some point,
you got to pop the bubble.
That is right now, the bubble is ready to go. You're just being forced to release that bubble.
Realize you have bubbles.
Yeah, it's okay to have bubbles.
And let them go.
And then it's okay to feel completely emotional or overwhelmed with some of them.
Yeah.
The other night, I connected with something or someone, and I think I do a lot of work on like conscious, like global consciousness, more so, at night. And I connected with this global consciousness of extreme, excruciating despair. Like a despair that I have never felt before myself. But it was the most despair that I think any human could ever comprehend. It was just the most vast ocean of despair. And through the process of letting go, right now I have that as a technique. I just said, okay, I am willing to feel whatever it is I need to feel. Now, in that case, the I wasn't I, but I'm just a conduit into the greater whole, right?
Yeah.
And it was an overwhelming sea, like excruciatingly painful, excruciatingly overwhelming, to the point where I do a lot of this processing, and I was just I wanted to shut it off, right? But because I'm a little gung-ho about trauma processing and letting things go, I'm like, no, I need to allow this to flow. I need to experience the peak of the peak, right? And as the peak got higher and higher and higher, I want everybody to know how it feels like. You almost think like you're going to die. Like quite literally, your response to self is, this is too much for one being to handle. Like it actually feels that way. It feels like it's too much for one being to handle. And I'm laying there and I'm going, oh my God, this is so much. This is so much to handle. I don't know how anybody could handle this much pain or this much despair. But one, I'm acknowledging and I'm letting it be my truth. I allow it to be my truth. It is okay that I'm feeling this despair. It is okay that it is completely overwhelming. It is okay that I quite literally don't know what to do with myself. And this is worse than actually dying. That's how it felt. Like it would be easier to die than to continue to exist and live than to go through that much pain, which is, indescribable, right?
Yeah.
But it just peaked and peaked and peaked and peaked, and you do want to give up and you do want to shut it off. But if you just sit there and go, I'm willing to feel whatever I need to feel. I'm willing to feel whatever I need to feel, and just allow it to go all the way. One, you're not endangering yourself. You're not going to die. But let it go all the way through. And then it just goes. Like I can't describe, you will know how it feels. It just goes.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you are almost on an upgraded plane of being.
Yeah.
Where your truth is now different. I'm not trying to oversell the experience, but that is what it comes down to.
With me, when I have something and when it finally lets go, it becomes funny to me. I'll be sitting there, and I'll start laughing and chuckling at whatever it is, because first of all, it seems all encompassing and it's the only thing that matters and whatever, and it's terrible and blah blah blah. And
it's worse than death.
Yeah. And then, seconds to minutes to hours or days later, whenever it is, there's this snap and it's like, what was that about? It seems silly. It seems funny. It's amusing that, oh my gosh, here a couple minutes ago, whatever this thing was really bothering me a lot. And it seemed super important. And it was on my mind, and it was really, really, eating away at me or whatever. And it's like, who was that guy? It becomes like that. That's the way almost everything I've ever done, that's how it happens to me. But there's this like snap, this inflection point where it's gone. And it's like hilarious that this was even a thing in the first place.
Yeah. With me, the snap is just a release of this cloud. It's almost like the cloud vanishes, right?
I mean, yeah.
And then what I feel, to me, it's not necessarily funny, but I feel this like new jolt of available energy. I actually feel the net difference between this floodgate being closed to it becoming a little bit more open.
I mean, I can relate to that too, because it is like, it feels like, okay, I just want to get up and tackle the world now.
Yeah, you're for the first time feeling the actually available flow of infinite potential to you.
Yeah.
And then that thing that has been suppressing you.
You've had this thing, you've had this dam, and finally you've blown up the dam.
Yeah. No.
And wasn't it funny that you built a dam in the first place?
Yeah, to you, that's what the difference is.
Yeah.
To you, it becomes funny. And to me, I just feel this renewed potential. Like, wait, I have...
Yeah, I have all this creative juices and inspiration. I just want to do stuff.
Yeah, because it's
make stuff.
It's now an energetic influx in this natural way of progression.
And it's like I was, it's like you were lugging around this ball and chain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you didn't even realize it was there. But now it's gone, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can walk around.
Yeah,
look at that silly ball and chain. That I put on.
No, it's. I mean, to me, like, think about this. We have the easiest tool available to us. We don't have to go to the Himalayas and sit in the Guru cave for 10 years, right? We don't have to find anyone else to tell us what to do. Like, I know we're kind of telling people what to do here, but in no way are you and I holding the key to anyone else's freedom. We hold this within ourselves.
There's no middle manager you have to go through.
Yeah,
you don't have to go through a priest to get to God.
To get to the essence of you, the truth of you, to shed this weight. is this, just this. Like, how simple is that?
Yeah. It's life changing.
No, I mean, I guess, I'm hoping if anybody's going to get anything out of us blabbing on for hours and hours and hours, 24 times now, it's just that we hold the key to our own full potential. When the floor gets swiped from under you and you're in a free fall, it is actually a good thing, because now you have these tools to see through your own being, or see through your own personal self-infliction.
Yeah. When the floor's pulled out, when the rug pull out from under you,
I don't know.
it's it's look at it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
The I had a boss that, anytime there was, something, obviously, nobody wants to do, he would say, "Oh, we have an opportunity here."
Well, he would say it in the corporate way.
Yeah. But this, yes, wasn't a fan of that. But this, take this thing, which, is ostensibly negative, and now we've got to, all these things that feel bad and whatever. But it is an opportunity to let that go for once and all.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Well, it goes to
you could have it sitting there forever, never dealing with it, and it's just going to
uh,
eat away at you slowly. Or you can deal with it once.
yeah. I mean, sometimes you have
So
to do it
yeah,
more than
sometimes it's not
once.
gone, but it's better.
Yeah. No, you know, for us, the point of our existence is to live this life, this interpretation of this reincarnation, to our full potential, right? And that full potential exists in an unlimited source of our own energy, like our own energetic interpretation, our own kundalini, or the energy of self, or divine, or whatever you want to call it. Like, I am the interpretation of the wholeness. And my whole point here is to interpret me as part of the whole. And it is impossible to do that if we're constantly literally sabotaging ourselves or killing ourselves. And so this is a great way to, I mean, one, maybe to see what's coming, and then two, to see, what's ahead, and then maybe interpret it in this way as opposed to the free fall that is scary.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that a lot of people are questioning why they need to continue to be on this earth, um, because it's getting more and more difficult as these traumas surface themselves, right? And then that overwhelm that I felt in the despair, is everybody's truth, right? If you're just at full point of despair, then everyone is questioning, why do I need to continue to live my life in despair? Because it's easier to die. I mean, it's what it's coming down to, right?
Yeah.
But the despair is there for us to process,
Yep.
to actualize and let go. And it's there because we're able to handle it and we're able to process it. Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
That's a wrap. Thanks.